Well, here's another set of artifacts that show you strangeness to the peopling of Americas and the Silk Road. What you're looking at here is glass beads, blue glass beads, which have been found all the way back to 7000 BC in a burial we talked about earlier in this year. Sumerians, Egyptians, known as faience beads and so on, with the holes drilled through them that you can see here, and especially through the ones that have been shattered. All through the Holy Land, and even earlier this year we talked about the wreck of the Illubrian, which showed some bronze, or actually raw copper, with a purity to a point that shows that it probably and undoubtedly came from the Americas in float copper from Michigan. But also on that same boat, we showed that they had these hockey pucks of two different forms of blue faience glass that people would have used, forming them again into beads and making them out of this, or into something like this. Strangeness here is that this is found in Alaska, and it proves again pre-Columbian American-European trade and contact. The stunning discovery of pre-Columbian artifacts originally from Europe and Alaska could be definitive proof that the ancient trade networks that existed between Europe and northern Alaska in the mid-15th century, joining the ranks of other pre-Columbian contact theories. A bag of blueberry-colored Venetian glass beads in Alaska stands as proof that European manufactured artifacts made their way via the Silk Road to the Americas long before Christopher Columbus had arrived in 1492 AD. So this is crap on Columbus Day again, I guess, if you will. Oldest European pre-Columbian artifacts discovered in North America. The bag of glass beads was manufactured by a Venetian jeweler before they were transported along the Silk Road and ultimately across the Bering Strait into the Americas and Alaska. These pre-Columbian European artifacts were discovered in the late 20th and early 21st century at the entrance to a subterranean dwelling in northern Alaska. Now a new paper suggests that these beads represent some of the oldest European artifacts ever discovered in the Americas. I made a video called A New Look at the Peopling of the Americas and discussed this just like they're doing now and the possibilities. It's kind of a verifier video, but these beads were found at 3 sites in the Brooks Range, with its northernmost extension of the Rocky Mountains in the northern Alaska. Located entirely within the Arctic Circle, though. The new study of Michael Kunz of the University of Alaska Museum of the North and Robin Mills of the Bureau of Land Management was published in the journal American Antiquity. The researchers assert that the rare glass Italian objects are among the oldest European items ever discovered in North America. Notice it says among before the quotes there, for there are a lot of ooparts that we've talked about that show that it happened well before. In fact, of course, there's the Viking settlements which are showing before, and that is North America, even though it's Newfoundland and above and so on. But there's been a lot found farther deeper in the Americas and proof of contact in one form or another. One thing that can easily be seen is the swastika that was carried in the Americas. But I've often said that that can easily be written off as something that was carried into the Americas and not necessarily a late showing of reconnection. Something that they could have had sacred to them well before coming in. The strange thing there is that there's very little, if any, artifacts shown in the first few thousands of years that are supposed to be given to these people having this type of connection. Here we see what's been found with them and associated with them, and of course there's all the beads that are around mixed into it. But if you look at A there, that appears to be a copper or bronze bracelet. D appears to be a bone bracelet with a hole going through it, some type of polished stone, I'm not sure. And the bottom on the outside points are loop earrings, and then the other reddish ones are actually earrings. It appears, or bangles if you will, but they have little bitty holes right at the very top of them too, like right there, showing that they were probably hooked on that way too, so in a form of jewelry. These pre-Columbian artifacts are found in Alaska, are the oldest European items ever made discovered in North America. Well, so you're saying they're Venetian beads. They couldn't have been from any other class. I'm sure there's some way that they can detect if this was Venetian glass or faience glass from before, because me looking at it in the pictures, even the close-ups we showed, I'm not able to easily discern. They weren't able to discern age of any of these objects here, except for like the twine type material that's wrapped around these earrings and so on. Kneeling over the results. Void of organic material, stone cannot be dated. However, the scientists were able to determine the beads as most probably being pre-Columbian because they discovered traces of twine from copper bangles nearby that was radiocarbon dated to between 1397 and 1488 AD. So here we have something again that just right before Columbus, there's these people that well know that you can go all the way across and into Alaska. So he made it. But he did not completely make it down through Canada and into the Americas. The researchers suggested in their new study that the copper jewelry and the Italian glass beads were once used as earrings or bracelets, and Kunz told News NAF that when he and his research partner realized how old the beads were, they almost fell over backwards. What if you were able to connect it to not the Venetians of the 1400s, but it could be possibly older? Would a lot of people fall over backwards? The authors note in their new paper that this discovery represents the first documented instance of the presence of undoubtable European materials in prehistoric sites in the Western Hemisphere as a result of overland transport across the Eurasian continent. That's probably a more correct statement, but may not even be true in its statement itself. Determining evidence of pre-Columbian trade. Well, Kunz and Mills suggest the beads were carried along the East Asian trade routes, which we later became through Marco Polo, known as the Silk Road and so on, to the trading post of Stasialek, and then on to the ancient Alaskan settlement of Ponyak Point. From here, the Italian artifacts hopped across the Arctic Ocean to the Bering Sea, where, according to the researchers, somebody kayaked them across around 52 miles of open ocean, across from Russia's farthest point of today that we know of to Shimmy, Alaska, and the first little islands there and on. If they would have done this during the depth of winter, it's a little bit closer than that because those islands are really made of ice and it grows. And they grow towards each other somewhat. One would like to think that he did it whenever it was more peaceful time during the seasons, though. The scientists say that the collection of beads were likely strung onto a necklace and later dropped near the entrance to an underground house that was found there. So again, here we have this sunken floor underground house. Speaking with Gizmodo, Ben Potter from the Arctic Studies Center at Leichenberg University in China, Liaocheng University in China, said the new findings are very cool. Potter added that he believed that the new interpretation of movement of the beads through the trade of East Asia and the Bering Strait makes sense. An article in the Smithsonian says that if confirmed, the discovery would indicate the indigenous North Americans trading in North Alaska wore European jewelry decades before Christopher Columbus in 1492 landing in the Bahamas, where he also traded with the Indians with beads and things. So here we look at a picture of the proposed possible route that they're giving it. There's quite a few things left out of ancient trade routes, of course, here. This is supposed to be the approximate 15th century Silk Road routes, where you can come up and around through the Black Sea and the Aral Sea and come across and into China. Or you can take a lower route through the Middle East, Samaria, up across the top of India and go there, but there's always this cut that goes down, but it doesn't show that it goes deep into India. Nor is there a connection looking like it's going anywhere into ancient Siam very much at all. Yet, whenever this connects here, there's not a connective of making it there, so apparently you had to go here, all the way to Beijing, back, and then go up. No, that's not the way it goes. Could you have gone this route and then gone up to the top? Sure. What are they leaving out, though? Well, they're leaving out routes that we well know of nowadays that would have come across the top of it and around here, up into Denmark and so on and around, but then also cutting across here and other routes. And an ancient route that we know that before the Silk Road was even known was already being used. Whether you want to believe the people from this area came all the way over and back, or they kept meeting midterm people, and then these people traded with these people, and these people traded with those people, and it led all the way across, which Arcturians and their genetics show that no, that was somebody that was over here, that they were living over here, or over here. But suddenly there's this jump where you go all the way up here. There's not a connective over the top that there should have been actually here, and probably two sets of roads up through here which might intermingle and meet at a few points. Nothing shown in the primary Aboriginal territory until the 16th century here are these people and Mongoloids and types that would have been moving across to make up the people of the Americas. But this wasn't something that was found all the way over here, for if it was found all the way over here, that'd be great. But they made it all the way across, right? And this is where I was talking about Shimia and so on. This is the farthest point here, and there are connectives here. But of course, if you were to come all the way across here, which, hey, that side up there is very close to it, is a small area. This 52 miles or less, depending on ice. And if you were to make the island hop to here and the hop to there, oh, it could be even less, so on. But they made it to here, and they didn't make it any farther. Maybe they've died off there. Looking at those, I mean, you wonder if that's a male or females. I mean, both can be wearing jewelry and so on, but this earring effect and so on, it's not really something that the Indians had going on like crazy, unless it was their women. Pre-Columbian contact, the archaeological panic button. Over the last decade, the traditionally hardcore skeptical scholarly response to claims of pre-Columbian European contact in the Americas has fractured. This was discussed in Alice Beck Kehoe's 2003 paper, The Fringe of American Archaeology, Transoceanic and Transcontinental Contacts in Prehistoric America. The author said so much division has emerged in this area of research because reputable peer-reviewed papers are circulating with circumstantial interpretations of alleged out-of-place artifacts, fringe science, pseudo-archaeology, and pseudo-history. They keep saying that, but what keeps being found is more and more and more of it. And whenever they want it to go their way, it takes far less. And so they develop a theory and they go off of it, but it's not a proven fact, it's a theory, although people want to go with it. Well, here's a new theory and some stuff that goes along with it. A lot of things keep showing this connection here. How about before that Bering Bridge was ever there were people over here. Pre-Clovis even. Solutreans. Just did one about footprints in Mexico coming off at 23,000 BC. And they have to give credit for that because it's a footprint. How about that mammoth that was cracked open that's 130,000 years old? Oh, well, if I can write it off in any way, then I will. Seems to be the mantra. Among the few pre-Columbian contact theories that were permitted to be spoken about are the 10th century, before this, North explorations of the New World, evident in the discovery of Cave La Anse Meadows in Newfoundland. This discovery preceded Columbus's arrival in Americas by more than 500 years, and everybody's cool with that, so they shouldn't be uncool with this one. But this is a weird theory, and it's showing you these blue faience beads, but that's weird. I wonder if there are truly Phoenician beads, because if they're not Venetian beads, maybe they're Phoenician beads. The new theory of how the Italian beads got to Alaska also falls into one of the accepted schools of pre-Columbian contact thought, that there was an early material exchange between the peoples of Siberia and the peoples that came into the Alaskas and the Americas. Only this wasn't 10,000 years ago and that was it. And then the Bering Sea went away and da-da-da. Definitely not. Whoopsie. Now it's known that this contact was made at least half a century before Columbus adventures into the New World. So, strange connection here, but Venetian beads, to be precise, is what they're trying to say about these. Again, I'm not a bead specialist in any way. I've seen a lot of them, and enough to start making connectives. There's a lot of the Phoenician beads and the ones that we've seen that are elongated, that have the bumblebee patterns and all of these patterns onto them, showing you that they were creating these things and refiring them and smoothing them off and doing all kinds of cool things with them in the Wayback Machine. But I've seen beads that look exactly like this. They have Egyptian faience beads and a Denmark burial that shows you they had contact, definitely. And really, I can't tell the difference between the two. Perhaps there's some way of chemically testing these, like they can just, do in nowadays modern term. But then this twine that's next to them, that's associated with this burial, shows you that the twine was about that age. Wonder if it's made of hemp, by the way. But this twine probably dates this correctly. But that doesn't necessarily tell me either that these were Venetian beads. Although it starts to get a far-fetched thought if these were Phoenician beads and then somehow kept all of this time, found some way or kept and then put onto this thing that almost made it into the Americas. Well, it did, but no farther than Alaska. Makes me think of a brother bear type concept, if you will. Let me know what y'all think downstairs. And if you know of a way that could prove that these are Phoenician rather than Phoenician beads. Peace.